All right, y'all. Let's do it. Ty Butler in the house. You know how we give it up. Tuesday, New York City, baby. It's about to hit 81 degrees today, so we're hyped. We're feeling good. My man Ian Begley gonna hop on the show in a couple of minutes. We are previewing the Knicks and the Hawks. That series underway on Saturday, round one. Tip off set for 6 o'clock. I'm gonna be in the building, so I'm hyped. We're here, man. We're here. Yo, I do have a question before we get to Ian Begley. And I'm not trying to come at Nick fans. This is a legitimate question about how you guys think. The people who complain about the national media, Knicks for clicks, yada yada yada. So y'all keep saying y'all don't care about what the opinion of your team is because these folks are just using the Knicks for content, for engagement. And yet every time they have a take, y'all comment on it. Y'all have something to say. So I just don't understand how you could, in one sentence, say you don't care about what the national media thinks, and then immediately follow that up with like outrage. Because then I come across ESPN's predictions, how they think that this Hawk series is gonna go, and people are mad. Mad why? Oh, y'all weren't with us before. How y'all gonna be with us now? Keep that same energy. So it's like pick one. Do you want people to ride for your team or don't you? Do you care or do you not care? Shout out Kevin Zwicker, 96, going all in. And I agree with this prediction, by the way. He's got the Knicks in five. He's got the Knicks in 5 games. So I want to pull up ESPN's predictions. Vincent Goodwill has not exactly ingratiated himself with the Knicks fan base. They've been mad at this dude all year long. He's felt like they've been hating. He's been hating on him. But he goes Knicks in 6. Ramona Shelburne goes Knicks in 5. Tim McMahon, he's got Knicks in 6. Dave McMenamin, he's going Knicks in 6. Baxter Holmes, same deal. Zach Cram, Knicks in 7. Anthony Slater, Jerry Bembry, Mark Spears, all going Knicks in 6. You've got Michael Wright. He's got Knicks in 7. Young Masuk, and then Eric Moody. They're both going Knicks in 6. So of all the 12 panelists, they have predicted a clean sweep, all in favor of the New York Knicks winning this series. And I'm with them because and I said this yesterday when I was doing the show with my man Dexter Henry. Shout out to him for pulling up on your boy. I said, you just start to go through all of the aspects of this series. Better team, the Knicks. Better offense, the Knicks. Better defense, the Knicks. More proven, more experienced, the Knicks. I don't come away from that feeling too confident in Atlanta, despite the fact that they had a fun regular season. And you big them up because Jalen Johnson, all NBA guy, he's arrived. You've got Dyson Daniels, a tremendous defender. Shout out CJ McCollum, by the way. Veteran leadership, joining that group because they were at a crossroads with the whole Trey Young thing. So they get rid of him. He comes into the mix. You've got Nikhil Alexander Walker, who lit the Knicks up last week. Big up, I guess. Jonathan Kuminga found himself a nice little home over there. And they've been a fun team. A great story. In fact, one of the best stories of the year. And yet, I just don't give them much of a chance in this series because I think the Knicks are that much better than them. And that's not to say that the games won't be competitive. I think game one will be competitive. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if the Hawks stole game one at the Garden on Saturday. But ultimately, this feels like a gentleman's sweep. And the reason why I like the matchup is because I think it gives the Knicks an excellent opportunity to, rev that engine up because you are going to have your hands full, obviously, in round two against the Celtics. And I think that the Celtics series will be a lot tougher than if they win that whoever they play in the conference finals, whether that be at home against Cleveland or against Detroit. I picked the Knicks to beat the Pistons. I think it's a big deal that the Pistons swept them, but I still think they've got some boxes to check before they in my eyes are able to take that next leap. And once the Knicks are in the conference finals where they were last year, you know, understanding they just blew it. Like we should have been in the NBA finals. We just blew it. I think they'll get it done. So I've got the Knicks winning this series in five. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful. One of my boys, shout out my man, Edward McFarland. Late game situation, I expect the uh, the Knicks to have a massive advantage. CJ McCollum, he's clutch, but Jalen Brunson is, I mean, arguably the most clutch player in the league. And so this is where we are. Hit me up in the comments. Want to hear from you at Ty D Butler, so you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. Posted to TikTok last night. So make sure you hit me up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to the people watching on YouTube. We are there cooking. Let me know what you guys think about this series. Ian Begley's about to hop on with us in a moment, break it down, get his series prediction, maybe a little bit of a premature look ahead to Boston, and talk about whether or not he thinks that we are watching a Knicks team that is poised for a trip to the NBA Finals. So excited to talk to him about that. Um, I think that the once we get so we've got I think two fascinating first round series. Um, Wolves Nuggets. Nuggets are heavy favorites, but that's becoming a bit of a rivalry. So we're locked into that. Obviously, Knicks Hawks in theory should be fascinating, but the um if we get Hornets Pistons, I don't think Detroit like there's any shot they lose that series. But the Hornets have been really good and they're a fun, entertaining team. And the Pistons, because of their lack of playoff experience, just inherently makes them, I guess, liable to be upset. They're an upset contender. I don't think it happens, but we shall see. Um, just waiting for my man Ian Begley to hop on. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And here he is, Ian Begley, about to pull up on the scene. I see he's setting up here, so I want to give him a few minutes. I'm excited to talk to him because we've been previewing this for months. Like I don't maybe it's not as fun for the general audience when like we decide last June this is the team that's going to be in the finals and we just treat the regular season like it doesn't matter. But now we're here, couple days away from the first game of the playoffs, and this is when the real games begin. This is where the fun all commences. You've got one of the favorites to win the championship against a young and up and coming Hawks team, and I just think that I have no doubt in my mind. At least the first 3 quarters, maybe we'll see something similar to what we saw last year, where the first 3 quarters are awesome, and then the Knicks just kind of do what they got to do, take care of business um, in that fourth quarter. So, Ian, I see that you are here, but I don't see your face. So I'm gonna wait until I see you pop up on the screen before we get at it. Um, a lot of confident Nick fans on time now. You see the Hawk fans have popped out too. If you're on social media, Hawk fans, and I like it. I we weren't gonna get that if we had gotten Toronto or Orlando. You got a confident group that feels like they can win this series. Whether we agree with it or not, at least they're confident. They come up wanting smoke. Here we go. And so I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. Um, looking forward to that taking place on Saturday. We are a couple of minutes away from welcoming my man Ian Begley into the mix here. He does a tremendous, tremendous job covering the Knicks all year long um, for SNY. It is my pleasure to call him a colleague over on SNY, and I look forward to seeing him at the Garden on Monday. So once he's ready to go, we'll pop him up on here and we'll talk about the Knicks and the Hawks. Ian Begley, Been looking forward to having this conversation. My man always pulls up when we need him. What's going on, bro?
Ty, what's up, man? How are you?
I feel great, man. I'm excited. I know, like, all year long we've been just get us to the playoffs. A lot of people are like, none of these games matter. We're finally here. And it feels like we're getting something similar to what we got last year. And it was Knicks are the more proven team. They should win the series. You've got an inexperienced young group. And I know they've got some veterans, Nikhil Alexander Walker, CJ McCollum. So it's not exactly the same, but uh, more or less feels like it. So, what are your expectations? I think the Knicks win this in five. What are your expectations?
Yeah, 5 or 6 is where I would put it, and they're going to be. That's not a slight to the Hawks at all. I think there's not going to be a blowout. There's going to be close games where the Knicks are going to have to make plays late to seal these wins. But you look at the roster, and just down low, the Knicks maybe they have arguably the best center rotation in the league with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson when those guys are healthy. And so I think they have an advantage there. And then I look at OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and just the defensive assignments that they could have. Josh Hart as well, whether it is Jalen Johnson, Nikhil Alexander Walker. There are guys that they're going to be matched up with. That this is why they're here. This is why they're paid what they're paid to shut these guys down and to bother them over the course of a series. And I think they'll be able to do that.
So Saturday is going to be fun. I remembered this happening, but then I wanted to look it up to verify it. Game one last year of Knicks Pistons, Detroit actually had an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and we're like, "Uh-oh, this is pretty interesting." Immediately, the Knicks start at the fourth on a 21-0 run because they just realized we're the better team. We've done this before. We've been here, and so I expect something similar to that. I just can't believe, Ian, like the Knicks have all these different advantages. I can't believe there's people that think that they can be upset. Am I missing something?
No, I think it's based on probably how the Hawks played after the All-Star break. They went 18-2 over a 20-game stretch. They won 13 straight home games. Obviously, that home game streak was snapped by the Knicks the Monday before the end of the season when they won a tight game down in Atlanta, and it was Jalen Brunson making a lot of plays late, and the Hawks not having that player who is used to coming through in those tight games and making plays in those tight games. And I think that's another difference maybe here with the Knicks and the Hawks with regards to just the closer, right? Jalen Brunson can tilt games. The Hawks, Jalen Johnson, maybe he can, but he's not proven in that role yet. But I think it is based on that second half success and the idea that, after the trade deadline, CJ McCollum, moves they made, they've really panned out well for this team in Atlanta. And so I think that's where it stems from. They're not a traditional sixth seed. The gap between 3 and 6 is not as big as it would be traditionally. So I think that's where some of the optimism comes from down in Atlanta.
And to help make your point, I was watching First Things First yesterday, FS1. Danny Parkins and the staff put this together. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Since the All Star break, the Knicks and the Hawks and their rankings. Hawks best win percentage, second best point differential, second best point per game. They're the number one defense, number one net rating. So they're beating the Knicks in all these categories, except the most important one, which was as you mentioned, the head to head matchup. And so I think it's going to be a fun series. Let's just go to the far end of the spectrum. None of us think that this is going to happen, but Ian, the Knicks, if they lose this series, it will be because this happened.
Yeah, I would go with. I'm not even. I don't want to say injury because that's not a way to go. I would say that it goes that way if they don't get Karl Anthony Towns established early on in the series, and if they struggle with that Josh Hart Karl Towns cross match. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Knicks are going to have success there, but that's where I would start. They'll be in trouble if they don't get Towns going or he doesn't get himself going because that's such a clear area of advantage for them. And so I'm starting there.
All right. Would you agree with this statement? I think of any team the Knicks are the ones with the most pressure to get to the finals of any team in the league. Because
Yes.
you can say Oklahoma City, they've won already. And
Yep.
I mean, repeat champions. We haven't seen it since 17-18. Denver's won already. The Celtics, it's their gap year. Detroit's young. The Spurs are young. So if any team in the league, I think the Knicks have the most pressure to get to the finals.
Fully agree. I think that's what happens when you fire the head coach that got you to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years in Tom Thibodeau. You set the bar very high, and that's where the bar is. That's where we knew it is after they fired Thibodeau, but certainly owner James Dolan coming out in a radio interview and saying that the expectation is this team makes the finals and wins the finals. That's where his expectations are. So that's really the only person who matters with regards to expectations, and his are sky high. So certainly this Knicks team, they're healthy. They're playing good basketball coming into the playoffs. I do think they're under the most pressure to get through here. And I don't know. I haven't seen it consistently enough to be confident that they can do that. But just if they're playing the way they played against, Boston and Atlanta this past week, I think they have a shot against any team in the league.
Any updates on OG Anunoby's dealing with a bit of an ankle injury?
Yeah, Mike Brown thought it was nothing serious. Day to day for Anunoby, we did see him. His ankle was in a little bit of a wrap in the locker room after the Charlotte game, and so I'm sure the Knicks are going to be cautious. But just based on how Mike Brown has described this thing, the tone that he's used does not seem like OG Anunoby is in danger of missing any time in this series, and that's Knicks obviously are really benefiting from this playing tournament. The days off, they're able to get Anunoby right. They're able to plan some things out. I think that's a real benefit for them, specifically with Anunoby's ankle.
All right. I know a lot of Knicks fans, Ian, were rooting for Orlando to win that game against the Celtics because they would have preferred playing the Raptors. I happen to think that, obviously, I agree that you want the easier path. But now that you're in this matchup, I think it might be beneficial in a sense that, like, the one thing the Knicks I think struggled with all year long was just like focus. Like there were times where they didn't really care about some of these teams. They knew that we can turn it on in the third and fourth quarter and beat them because they're just not good enough. I think the advantage you get as you're preparing to, in theory, play the Celtics in round two, Pistons in the conference finals, Oklahoma City in the finals. Obviously, like those things have to happen. But as you're gearing up for a run like that, I feel like being challenged early, similar to how they were last year with the Pistons, works in their benefit. What do you make of that?
I think you're right. I think that the trouble though is the grind, the physical grind. But I do think there's something to be said for not having to be sharp from game one, from tip off 6 p.m. Saturday night, and not assuming that you're gonna be able to walk through this without the highest level of focus and the highest level of effort. There's something to be said for that because I think that with regards to their inconsistency in the regular season, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I wouldn't be surprised, Ty, if it was some of that. Just the idea that they could, even though they don't have the track record of winning, they could still flip a switch because of the talent there. So I do think, I see the benefit there. I think where it becomes a detriment is if they are in a physical, grueling series with Atlanta. They go 6 games, and then you're dragging a bit. Certainly going into the second round against Boston, but then if you're fortunate enough to get through Boston, you're really dragging going into that Pistons series. And so that's where I think it could be a detriment, but you got to see how the series plays out.
All right. I listen. I know we shouldn't be doing this because you want to, take teams seriously. But if we can prematurely look ahead to that Celtic series,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference this year? Like if I'm Boston, I'm thinking back to back 20-point leads. We got complacent. We went 80 and 21 and won the finals pretty easily the year before. We kicked the Knicks tails all throughout the year, and then we just kind of got lazy, complacent, 3-point variance, injury here, injury there. Our guys weren't 100%. But the Knicks obviously don't feel that way. They feel like they earned it. When we look at previewing this series, like what are some of the things that enter your mind as we like analyze how this thing could go down?
Yeah, I go where you go, Ty. That first element there, which Boston, they'll never admit it, but I do think they they didn't have the appropriate amount of fear, respect, whatever you want to call it, for the Knicks in those first two games at home. Because if they did, they would have closed out those games and won them by double digits. And so, since then, you've heard Jaylen Brown talk about how he wants to see the Knicks again. And so just because of that, because of what happened last spring, focus is not going to be an issue for the Celtics, I don't think. And motivation is not going to be an issue for the Celtics. And that's why I think it's going to be a much tougher challenge for New York. They're not sneaking up on these Celtics, but they do match up pretty well in terms of their defensive alignment. And you look at the center position, another one where, Karl Towns, Mitchell Robinson should make a big impact. And so it's not as if the Knicks, would go into it with no shot. I think it's closer to a coin flip. But the problem is, Boston is not going to be looking past the Knicks. They're going to be laser focused on the Knicks every possession. And I think that is a different element than what you saw last year early in the series.
I love you quoting Greg Popovich there, the appropriate fear.
Yes.
By the way,
Yes.
I did catch you with Wendy yesterday, man. That was some great stuff. That was
Oh, thank you,
awesome. I
man.
really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
that.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Wendy's the best.
He's awesome. And you guys spoke about, so because I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, like
Yeah.
some of the pressure that is coming from within the organization. Like we know the stakes. People, here in New York, as we do talk radio, trying to figure out, all right, what's like the what's the bare minimum amount that can happen to where it suffices for the organization. So can you talk about some of the pressure that's coming from, internally?
Yeah, I mean, look no further than that radio interview, right? I think it was in January, maybe it was December. James Dolan, WFAN, laying it out there, and confidently, stating why they believed in the team, why he didn't think any big changes were coming at the trade deadline, and why he thought that this team should reach the finals and win the finals. I mean, that's where it is, and it's interesting because what's going to happen if you don't get there. What are the factors that would tie into maybe it being seen as a passable event if you don't get there, injuries, what have you. And so, yeah, all that stuff will be analyzed if the Knicks don't get to where they want to go. But I really think that, any kind of a disappointing, non-competitive series loss to one of these teams ahead of the finals, it's going to bring changes. What kind of changes?
Yeah.
I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think Mike Brown would lose his job. I think it would be more so personnel, player personnel, and then maybe a front office tweak and a coaching staff tweak. But it would bring significant changes because you fell so short of where you wanted to be.
All right, so let's stay there for a moment because you just said that you don't think Mike Brown is like necessarily in jeopardy, but let's just say disaster strikes and they get clipped by Atlanta in round one. Is it just like open season? And again, like I know you got to check in on these things, but just your read of the situation as of now.
Yeah, my read on it, I mean, the first round exit, I think it would be open season. I think everything would be on the table. I don't think team president Leon Rose would be in jeopardy necessarily, but he would have to make some tough decisions and make some big changes. In that scenario, just guessing, right? If you're not making a change in the front office, you need to make a big shakeup. That the head coach is the one that you look at. I guess in that scenario, Todd, just me guessing, that would be more so on the table. But I'm thinking, you get through Atlanta. If you get embarrassed by Boston, maybe it's not as clear, the moves that you make in the aftermath of that. But I do think, regardless, it would start with the roster. And I think, a flame out would lead to an aggressive pursuit of Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. And, there's always 2-3 high-level players that come on the board in the offseason that you don't think will be available. And so the Knicks probably be aggressive there, too, in that scenario.
Do you think this is Giannis's like preferred destination?
So for sure, going back to beginning of the year, even middle of the year, I was. And, part of the thinking on his side, I was told, was that, he was intrigued by coming here and winning a title and snapping that streak and kind of what that would mean for the organization and for himself, for his own legacy. And I don't know why that would have changed. The only reason I think it would have changed is if the Bucks said we can't deal him for whatever New York is offering. So change your thinking, open yourself up to different scenarios, different locations, because it's just really tough to make a deal with New York. That could have happened, and that might change the way Giannis is looking at it right now. But all things being equal, New York was his preferred destination.
All right, last couple of things here. Let's go around the league before you get on out of here. I don't know if you have an NBA MVP vote,
I
but
don't have a vote this year.
you should. That's a bad job by the league. Uh, who would you go with as your NBA MVP?
Man, it, I don't think you go Wembenyama. I think I hate the idea that it's voter fatigue, and that's why you would overlook a season like Shea is having, because he's fantastic. He's at the top of his game, and he, night in, night out, shows why he's the one of the, if not the top players in the league. So I guess I would go. Shea, but it's really one of those things where you make a case. You can make a strong case for Wembanyama. You can make a strong case for Jokic. You can
Yeah.
make a case for Luka Doncic. You can make a case for Cade Cunningham. So it really is. It seems like more of a wide open question race than you've seen in years past. If you had a vote, Ty, where are you going?
I think I'm going Jokic because he's a center who just led the league in both rebounds and assists. The
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets are now the 3 seed, and he had to overcome, and I guess he's part of it, Ian. They had the 21st ranked defense. So to
Mm-hmm.
get that team to be deep, I think they're the best offense in the league now. And to where they are, despite injuries to, Gordon and Watson and all those other guys,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, yeah, and then in my mind, he's the best player in the league. So if the best player in the league is doing what he did this year, I think he deserves the MVP.
Totally fair. Totally
Now I
fair.
get it. SGA, they also had a ton of injuries at Oklahoma City, but
Mm-hmm.
if I had a vote, I'd go Jokic. All right, one quick game I want to play before we get out of here.
Yes, sir.
We draft our title teams. Now, just the shell. We would both agree Oklahoma City's the favorite, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's put them, just shell them for a moment. Heavy
Mm-hmm.
favorites. So if we just go back and forth and draft title teams, um, what's your second pick?
I'm going Denver. I'm taking
Okay,
Denver at 2.
I number 3 would go. Man, this is set. I go San Antonio.
I like it. I like it. Drafting
history
for
te-
upside. I like it.
history tells me I'm wrong. No team that inexperienced could win a championship, but I go San Antonio.
If
Where,
anybody's an outlier, it's Wembanyama.
where would you go at 4?
Number 4, I'm going. Yeah, I'll go Boston. They've done
Ah,
it before. Tatum's back. It's a different cast of characters. It was a quote unquote gap year, but the way they play, they're just connected and they know exactly what to do in different situations. So I'm going Celtics 4.
all right. Number 5, I'll take the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's progression isn't always linear, but second
Mm-hmm.
round conference finals, then they get to the finals, and once you're in the finals, you can win it. So I'd go Knicks at 5. Where are you going at 6?
6, I guess. Man, I don't want to disrespect the Pistons, man, because they've had such a great season. I really, hmm, I'm probably making a mistake, but I will draft Detroit at that.
Okay, you'll go Pistons here. And then how about we end it this way? Because these are two teams that neither of us expect to win the championship. But if I told you one of them will do it, Cleveland or Houston, who you taking?
I'm going to take Houston. They've had point guard issues all year. They've had play in the clutch issues all year. But I just think Kevin Durant, even at his advanced age, you get him in that setting, it's hard to beat for over a 7-game series. So if I'm picking one or the other, I'm going with Kevin Durant. You?
Uh I think I might go Cleveland, but
Mhm.
only because the West is so tough.
Right.
Houston going through LA and then having to go through OKC and then the winner of San Antonio, Denver, then to get to the finals.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
I love it, man. I love it. Yo, Ian, I appreciate you, man. We definitely have to do this again. You were tremendous. Ian Begley, excellent job for SNY. He's going to be covering the entirety of the playoffs. So I'll talk to you soon, my man. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, sounds good, Ty. Always good to be with you, and definitely see you soon.
Absolutely. That was Ian Begley. SNY TV does a tremendous job. Always love chopping it up with him. Make sure you find his show, The Putback, on YouTube. I'm going to be a guest on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that as we do a deeper dive into round one of the Knicks and the Hawks. Circa what 2020, 2021 playoffs where Trey Young sent these boys packing, packed them up in 5 games. That was the beginning of the Julius Randle. Oh, wait, we thought we loved you. We don't actually do, though, because you can't stop turning the ball over in big spots. I love Julius Randle. I wanted to see him get another shot at, rectifying some of those postseason shortcomings. But I'm hyped, man. A lot of storylines here in the playoffs. And as I mentioned, I keep saying this, but I mean, it doesn't make it less true. They desperately need a fun postseason. They took a beating this year. I mean, we started the season off with the head coach of a team being arrested by the FBI. And it's like, wait, what? I remember waking up seeing that, and I'm just like, there's no way that this is real. Chauncey Billups indicted on charges. He's got mob ties, no Drake. And so that's how we started the year off. We've got all these gambling controversies. You've obviously got the tanking and the load management. We killed them for the All Star game that actually ended up being good. And then we spent the last like third of the season watching teams just like send out the worst possible lineups because they prioritize draft positioning. You desperate if you're Silver, you desperately need a really good playoff because you are really turning off a lot of your audience. And as we enter this space where people just don't have time for anything, let alone your BS, and we've got an attention span deficit and all these other things happening on our iPhones and just in life, you can't fool around with this. Like you can't have your regular season just not matter. You need some stakes, you need some juice. You also need in the post KD Steph LeBron era a face of the league. You need people or teams that invoke strong emotion. And it's why I always argue with people when they're like, we hate dynasties, we like parity. No, we actually love dynasties because it gives us a team to root against if you are not a fan of that team. Baseball is on fire right now. Why? Because the Dodgers are incredible and they keep adding the best players in the sport to a team that if you're not a Dodger fan, you hate. If you're a Met fan, you despise them. If you're a Yankee fan, you detest them. The Dodgers have been excellent for baseball. For all the folks who are like, oh, they're killing the sport. No, they're not. They are reviving it. It's on fire right now. You know what would be bad for baseball? If the Dodgers don't get to the World Series. That would be bad. You know what was great for baseball? Cheating scandal aside, the Astros. You know what was great for baseball? And this is not me being biased. The Yankee dynasty, 4 championships in 5 years. You know what was great for the NBA? The Heatles, 4 straight finals. And people loathed that team. But they gave us a 27-game winning streak for the ages where you were just locked in night after night rooting against them. You did not want to see those boys win. You did not want to see them break the Laker record. When you are able to captivate an audience with a trigger of a strong emotion, whether it's detesting that team or loving them, that brings people in And that gives you storylines, that's content, and it gives us a reason to care and take your regular season seriously. The NFL is the most popular sport. Nothing's even close. But what helped them in this recent stretch was Kansas City. Did we want to see them go three straight, three-peat? They were on top of the sports universe for what? Back to 19, right? The last 7 years where they've won three championships. That was great for the NFL. So we can talk all we want about how we hate dynasties and we want parity. Nah, man. We like to see the same team over and over because we then get an up close and personal look at who they are and we decide we can't stand you. Oklahoma, like the Warriors, remember back in 15, were like a lovable, cute group, couldn't get past the second round. They changed head coach. They then win. Then in 16, they were the best show in basketball. 17, they add Durant. Everyone hated them. They win in 17. They win in 18. They got hurt and broke up in 19. That was great for the league. Same thing with Miami. I don't remember there being like a lot of vitriol toward my Lakers in that 08, 09, 2010 run. I remember, and maybe this is just because I was a Lakers fan, I hated the Celtics, that 08 Celtics team, could not stand them, but it was great for basketball. Great for basketball. As good as the Spurs were with Duncan and Parker and Ginobili, I don't even know that it was that they were boring because that's what people the knee jerk is, oh, they were boring. They were too fundamental. They were not boring if you watch them from 2012 to 2014. That was not a boring team. I think that there just wasn't enough personality that you were able to, for better or for worse, gravitate toward. Like Draymond gave you that with the Warriors. I don't know if it was LeBron's personality uh, as much as it was the whole Jordan comp that gave you that with Miami. And then how they came together obviously was controversial. Um, Kobe kind of became like a, again, I'm looking at this through the lens of being a Laker fan and being a Kobe guy. So maybe I've got this wrong, but Kobe became, I would think, someone you were rooting for. It gone all those years, post Shaq, without winning a championship and finally gets it done. But again, like my perspective can be tainted by my fandom. And now the NBA's got like all these different teams that keep winning championships. What brings us to, because I mentioned the face of the league, they got to figure this out. Wemby, I think's awesome. Wemby, I think's great, and it was so funny that, and this is one of the reasons why people like can't stand the media. So Wemby's after a game, as we are having the MVP race heat up, was asked a question about his MVP case. Sat there at the podium and gave you like a well thought out, thorough answer, answering a question that he was asked, and folks took exception to it, which made no sense. So what you're telling me is you hate listening to athletes talk because they don't ever say anything. It's just PC garbage, company line, boring. And then when you get the athletes to talk, you don't like it. Didn't make any sense. That's him showing personality. That's him laying out like, all right, yo, I want the MVP. I'm gunning for that. Being honest. I would prefer that to some lame answer where dude I know who he doesn't believe what he's saying is giving us some BS just because he wants to appear humble. And by the way, stating that you want the MVP doesn't subtract from your humility. It makes you, I think, more relatable because we've all played, a lot of us have played sports. You want the accolades. Of course, you want the team success, and that should be the number one priority. But yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with gunning for league MVPs. And so I thought that was great. which is a stark contrast to, and I love Jokic. I love Jokic. Incredible player, fun to watch. But I thought it was bad for the league when after the 23 finals, like you just felt like he didn't care. It's just, oh, I want to go home to my horses. Like he didn't, it was whatever to him. And I'm thinking, here's the best player in basketball, just won a championship that, by the way, a lot of people were saying he needed because they were trying to take away his MVPs. His team couldn't go on deep playoff runs, so they wanted to remove his MVPs from his trophy case. So he needed that in the eyes of many folks to establish his excellence and his greatness. It, shot him up legacy wise, up all of the people's NBA hierarchies, all time players, and it just didn't feel like it mattered. I didn't love that. It's not great for the sport. Like you think if the Yankees win the title in baseball, Aaron Judge is interviewed and he's like got no care in the world for what they just accomplished. You think that'd be good for baseball? The face of your sport is acting all nonchalant about winning a championship? Of course not. And so that's why I actually love what Wimby is doing. And he is showing you, yeah, I want the smoke. I like it. If this is what comes with the territory, bring it on. Hit me up in the comments at Ty D Butler. Subscribe to the show, Ty D Butler. Um, let me know what you're thinking. Having a good time, yo. Shout out to Ian Begley. Real quick, I want to text him. Uh, yeah, that was fun. I appreciate Ian hopping on here. We've got Claire DeLune coming on tomorrow at 4 o'clock to preview Lakers Rockets. I'm excited about that. I got to get my Lakers fixed, so that'll be cool. Thursday we might be doing a Yankee show. Got to double check that. Friday I'm gonna be on the putback with Ian at 1 o'clock on his YouTube show, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. And then Saturday night I'm on SNY so I'm going to the Knicks game, then I'm on SNY after, and then Sunday morning I'll be on ESPN New York Radio. So I appreciate you guys for listening. This was a good time. Ty D Butler is where you can find me on all your social media platforms. I appreciate y'all once again. Lock in with us. That's what we do here. Here we go. Once again, Ty D Butler. Those are the social media platforms. Get at me. Holla at your boy.